What's up, everybody? This is Fred Richani of TSC News right here on MNN2. We are here to present you with a nice blast from the past. This is TSC News Hall of Fame edition. We just had WrestleMania weekend. We had the WWE Hall of Fame. So we're going to look back at some of our most memorable interviews with not just WWE Hall of Famers, but UFC Hall of Famers. We're going to look at some interesting facts about certain Hall of Famers. And we're going to chat with Michael Kingston, New York's own Headlocked comic book author, a man who is actually creating yet another comic book, this time with not one, but two major WWE Hall of Famers. But first, let's get to our resident Jets fan and a man who is the king of random wrestling facts, dropping wrestling knowledge like he's from college. I'm talking about our buddy, fellow podcaster, the People's Podcaster, Scott Anderson. All right, Scott. Well, it is the week after the Hall of Fame, WrestleMania, NXT TakeOver, the wild and wacky WrestleMania weekend. What facts have you got for us this week, and what the hell are you wearing?
Well, as you can see, I'm trying to cover up my face a little. I have my Jets hat on. I have my cool Jet sunglasses on. I'm kind of ashamed right now. Not ashamed, but I'm in hiding. We signed Josh McCown this week as our quarterback. A lot of people think he might be a little bit a step down even from Fitzpatrick, so I'm trying to conceal my identity just a little bit for everyone. So, got to kind of go into hiding when I can, you know what I mean?
It is understandable. I mean, I'm a Giants fan. I guess I can't really complain too much. I'm sorry about the Jets, and I'm sorry. You know what? I will apologize in advance for the 2017 season and say I am sorry for the Jets.
Well, I'll apologize for Geno Smith, and we're even.
God forbid Eli Manning goes down. So Scott, what have you got for us? What have you got for us this week?
All right. Well, this week, let's see. We have some interesting tidbits. We'll start out with Teddy Long, just recently inducted into the Hall of Fame. He started out as an errand boy for Tommy Rich and Abdullah the Butcher. He worked the ring crew, worked his way up to being a referee, a manager, commissioner of SmackDown, commissioner of ECW. He's been around business for a long time. It was really cool to see his induction this past weekend. Thought that was an interesting tidbit there. How's about Beth Phoenix? She was the 1999 New York State Fair Amateur Wrestling Champion. As you all know, she is the youngest ever inductee at 36 years old as well. And cool tidbit, her and Edge, the first couple to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. So thought that was kind of interesting. And on a personal note, Ricky Morton, Robert Gibson, the Rock and Roll Express were inducted this past week as well. That was the tag team that got me into wrestling back in 1985, watching the old NWA footage there with the, if you remember, all the flags around the setup. I saw those guys come out. Thought it was really cool at the time. Been hooked ever since. So that's what I have for you this week.
Awesome, Scott. Thanks so much, bro, and good luck being a Jets fan this season.
And same to you for the Giants.
As I mentioned last week, there is only one Scott Anderson, and there are very few men and women who can call themselves WWE and UFC Hall of Famers. We're thankful to have chatted with a number of them over the years, and we're going to take a look back now at two of our most memorable UFC Hall of Famer interviews. One with Mark the Hammer Coleman, two with the only Triple Crown champion in UFC history, Dan the Beast Severn. Two dudes who used their wrestling prowess to advance to the top of the mixed martial arts mountain. Fred Richani for the Sports Courier at the Action Martial Arts Hall of Fame weekend at the Tropicana with UFC Hall of Famer Mark Coleman. Sir, what brings you here today?
Well, just a last-minute notice. I'm here with Dr. Frank Patino, he wrote a book on living a clean life, and I'm helping him promote his book and here promote myself. I got to meet so many fantastic people. It just, I think I'll be back next year. This is just a great event.
Now, this weekend is celebrating martial arts. One of the martial arts we're celebrating, of course, is mixed martial arts, which you made your name in. You were recently at the UFC 20th anniversary show. Looking back at your illustrious career and seeing how the UFC has grown, I mean, what are your overall thoughts on where the UFC has gone to and where they're going in the future?
Well, I always felt from day one, and to me personally, when I saw UFC 1, I was mesmerized and amazed, and I personally felt like it could be the biggest thing ever if people did it right, which they have. Dana White, the man works night and day. The Fertitta brothers, thankfully they're on board because we need them, and they're going to, I anticipate them taking this where Dana says. They're going to be the #1 sport in the world, and I think it'll be there. Are
you officially retired from MMA, or are you leaving that door open for one more fight?
Well, I don't know if I'll ever officially retire. I sort of did, but because I had hip replacement about a year ago, and I thought that was going to wipe me out, but actually the new hip feels a heck of a lot better than the old one did. So, yeah, the door's open. I just got a lot of work to do. I don't think I want to fight a John Jones or anything like that, but if I get the right opponent, the right offer, or maybe overseas, maybe somewhere. I stepped in that cage last night as a guest, and every time you walk in there, you get that feeling, and certainly I miss it. I think everybody misses it.
Now, you see a lot of fighters, especially over the last year, King Mo, Rampage Jackson, going into the world of pro wrestling. Would you be open to doing more pro wrestling bouts?
Well, I did a lot of pro wrestling over in Japan, and that was fantastic. It's a heck of a challenge. It's a lot harder than most people think. I loved it. I think here in the United States, it's for the younger guys, so it might have passed my time on that. But I think that'd have been fantastic to do that a few years back. We'll see, maybe to do a couple cameos or something. But I got a ton of respect for pro wrestling, and if I could, I sure would.
Fred Richani for the Sports Courier here at the Action Martial Arts Hall of Fame weekend, joined by our old pal, Dan the Beast Severn, UFC Hall of Famer. And Mr. Severn, what brings you here today at Atlantic City?
Well, I mean, when you look around, it's basically the martial arts sports extravaganza. You name it, between taekwondo, judo, karate. It's all here underneath one roof. Back behind the curtain, there's competition that's taking place. I'm just one of the cast of characters that they have here.
Now, you were at the UFC 20th anniversary show, and everybody was just tweeting and Facebook. And I don't know if you noticed, everybody's saying, Dan Severn never ages. Dan Severn never ages. I'm like, I knew this already. I see it every year at these things, man. What is your secret to aging?
Well, let's say that I have a home in Michigan and a home out in Arizona. Now, it's located in Fountain Hills, Arizona. At one point in time, maybe they charted it as the largest fountain in North America. Is it just a fountain, or is it the fountain of youth? Never know here right now.
Interesting. And you do look great now. A couple years ago, I asked you if you'd ever fight Don Fry. You said only if Just for Men could sponsor you guys. Exactly. Did that ever work out?
Just for Men, Schick, Gillette, razor blades, shaving cream, whatever else. Maybe we'll even throw Old Spice into the swing of things right there. No, it has not. No takers. Now, Don still has the more bolder, darker stash than the Beast, but I'm the originator.
That you are, my friend. Now, we're also here for our friends at Bullion. We're kicking it. And just to let everybody know, how did martial arts come into your life, and how has it positively affected you, besides the obvious, of course, which is your beautiful gold belts?
Well, I mean, it's affected my life in a lot of different ways. I mean, I'm really big on kids' charities. I always have been. I work with several different charities. Kicking It is simply just one of them. I'm big about kids, just for the fact that kids don't get a chance to pick out who mom or dad is. They don't get a chance to pick out where they have to live. They are a victim of their circumstances. Although at a certain point, they learn what is right and what is wrong. If they do wrong, it's because they choose to do wrong. But I'm willing to give them a little bit more forgiveness, stuff like that. You hit 25 and on, I write you off at that point in time. You're an idiot. That's what I refer to you as.
And do you think that martial arts should be incorporated to schools? Because we see gym class, and they got dodgeball, and they got basketball and football, and that's great and all, but you would think, especially at this point where mixed martial arts is at, that they would start incorporating classes.
I could see that being in there, but again, if you don't have the right leadership things in place, is it really going to be mixed martial art, or is it going to be this watered down aspect of mixed martial arts?
Good friend. He said, you got to do it this way. You got to do it a little bit differently. And then, Dan the Beast Severn just went by. I'm glad I have a sword. And I tell you what, he introduced me to Dan the Beast Severn.
It's not the size of the sword, but it's how you use it.
How you wield it.
Yes.
Dan the Beast Severn, UFC legend, good friend of mine.
I couldn't help myself right there. You had your sword. I don't mean anything by any means right now, but it's kind of like, you're just one of those things that just...
Well, I feel a little uncomfortable because your sword is bigger than mine.
I don't think we want to go there right now. Hey, no, we'll keep this a family show.
It's so far away from a family show.
Man, I gotta say, as big of an MMA fan as I am today, they sure don't make them like they used to. Mark Coleman, Dan the Beast Severn, definitely one of a kind. Well, two of a kind. You know what I'm saying, though. And now to the WWE Hall of Fame portion of the show. First, before we go back in time and check out some memorable wrestling interviews, we're going to chat with New York's own Michael Kingston, author of the successful Headlocked comic that's been crowdfunded many times on Kickstarter. And the latest edition is this close to reaching its goal. And he's going to tell us about why maybe you should be supporting Kickstarter and the background behind this awesome comic. We have right here a very special guest. He is a comic book author. He is the self-proclaimed King of New York. He is an honorary Four Horsemen, and he is a man that may be the 12th cousin of New Day member Kofi Kingston. And he's got an awesome new book coming out. He's here to talk all about it. He is the Headlocked creator, Michael Kingston. Mike, what's going on, man?
How you guys doing?
Doing great. Thanks so much for joining us. I know you've been kind of busy WrestleMania season.
Yeah, it's always a little hectic this time of the year because WrestleMania season sort of dovetails with the beginning of convention season for Comic Cons, and it's usually a lot of sleepless weekends.
Now, you're a guy that has been having some successful crowdfunding campaigns for a number of years with Headlocked. Some wrestling fans may be familiar with it. Some that are watching for the first time may not. Can you tell us a little bit about Headlocked and how you came up with the concept?
So I've been a wrestling fan and a comic book fan since I was 8 years old, and to me, comics never did wrestling the right way. It was Undertaker fighting demons or Kevin Nash's Mad Max. People remember the Ultimate Warrior stripping Santa Claus naked and stealing his suit. Like, there's a lot of lowlights when it comes to wrestling comics. It became apparent to me at some point they were never going to make the wrestling comic that I, as a wrestling fan, wanted to read, so I decided to make it myself. And so I created this comic book called Headlocked, which is a story of a kid who's a theater major in college who falls in love with wrestling sort of unexpectedly, and then he quits school, and it's his journey through the business starting on day zero. So it's sort of like an HBO-style drama, but at the same time, we're sort of examining the craft of wrestling through the eyes of a performance artist. So there's a lot of different layers to it. We've had a lot of different wrestlers contribute to it. All the art in the book is done by actual wrestlers, which I love. Jerry the King Lawler paints the covers, and then the interiors are done by Mikel Molapola, who's a Samoan wrestler from New Zealand, former tag champ with Haku, which I think is pretty cool. Having guys in wrestling be a part of the book is really cool to me, and having wrestlers do art for the book that's about the art of wrestling is, I don't know, as meta as it gets.
Jerry the King Lawler, he's a guy that's done some art before for Mick Foley. He's a low-key awesome artist and somebody that's always kind of had a passion for it outside of wrestling. How'd you guys link up to do Headlocked?
So it's the craziest thing. So when I first started Headlocked, I wasn't hooked up with anybody. We made a book, and I was at Artist Alley at conventions selling stuff. And it's, anytime you're an independent and, you're doing things outside the box, it's always tough to get traction. So I sent Jerry a cold email through his website. Like, I forgot I did it after I did it. It was like the biggest lark, like, oh yeah, maybe Jerry Lawler will do a cover for me someday. And I forgot I did it, like I said. And maybe, a couple weeks later, I get an email back from this account, and then I think, it's the webmaster, or, email delivery notification or something. And it's actually from Jerry, and this is my address, send me some books, I'll take a look at it. And I'm like, all right, well, still kind of trying to be cautious. And then I sent the books out, and maybe like a week later, so I get a phone call. And obviously, if he didn't have such a distinct voice, I would have thought it was a prank or something. But it was him saying, hey, I looked at your books, I'd really like to do a cover for you. And he's the regular cover artist on the book now, and it's insane. And people that don't know, Jerry actually got into wrestling through art. So when he was younger, he used to draw pictures of wrestlers, and he sent them into the Memphis television studios. And Lance Russell put them on the air, and then that led to him getting invited to the studio and meeting wrestlers, which eventually sort of led to him becoming a wrestler. So, he told me one time, he goes, when I saw your email, he goes, I remembered what it was like to see my artwork on television, and Lance Russell had taken a chance on me all those years ago. So I thought it would be cool to pay that forward to the next guy. So, that's why he does what he does for me. And he's done 5 covers for me. We do Comic Cons together. I consider him one of my better friends in the world. And it's insane.
Now, you've crowdfunded all your books through Kickstarter?
Yes.
Crowdfunding, for those that don't know, is pretty damn hard, especially if you're going through Kickstarter. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. From what I understand, if you don't reach your goal, you don't get to keep any of that money, right?
Correct. Yeah, it's an all or nothing scenario. So you're basically sort of putting your stuff out into the world to kill or be killed, so to speak. And we've been really lucky, with the names we've had attached to it, and the fan base we built. So. We didn't go on to Kickstarter right away. I mean, I had 3-4 years of touring, doing shows, going to wrestling shows, hand selling books, and all of those things before we attempted a Kickstarter, and building relationships with enough guys to sort of put eyes on it. So that it's they say the overnight success or whatever, but there was a lot of elbow grease behind the scenes to get it to the point where Kickstarter was a viable option for us.
You have Headlocked the hard way coming out. You have the Kickstarter still going at the moment. How's everything going with that? Can you tell us who you're involved with?
This is a ridiculous lineup, and I say it all the time when I'm doing promos for it, and it's still I really can't always comprehend how cool it is, but for this book, we're doing the next 5 chapters in the Headlocked story, and then the cool thing about Kickstarter is we give the Kickstarter backers extra content, and it's stories, comic book stories, and art by some of the best wrestlers in the world. And we've had AJ Styles and Samoa Joe do stories, and the Young Bucks and MVP and Rob Van Dam, and so for this book we have Ric Flair, Mick Foley, Cody Rhodes, Kenny Omega. And Tugboat's doing art, Fred Ottman, the Shockmaster, Lindsay Dorado. And then for people who know comics, we have Robbie Rodriguez, who's creator of Spider-Gwen. We have Ed McGuinness, who is one of the creative forces behind Deadpool. Andy Belanger, who's artist on Southern Cross for Image, but also an independent wrestler in Montreal. And then we just added Raphael Albuquerque, who's the artist to American Vampire, is one of my favorites. I mean, it's a ridiculous lineup. And then if we hit $25,000, we're going to have a story co-written by Penta L0M, the former Pentagon Jr., which is insane, to have this much talent packed into one book, for an independent wrestling comic that, still a ton of people have never heard of. I think, I don't know, it blows my mind that we've gotten to this point.
Thanks so much, Michael Kingston. Always appreciate the time. And now, the main event of the show. We're going to look back at some of our most memorable WWE Hall of Famer interviews. You ready? You ready? So buckle up and enjoy this nice trip, and kind of awkward trip, down memory lane. Pleased to be joined by WWE legend Mick Foley and future WWE Hall of Famer. How you doing, sir?
Do you know something I don't know?
what?
You're just assuming I'll be a future WWE Hall of Famer. Well, all right. I like the optimism. Thank you. We are kicking bullying, right? I mean, I got a call just a few days ago, and I was told that we were doing our best to kick out bullying. I mean, it's something that's completely preventable, unlike a lot of things that we're involved with, like Make-A-Wish and those type of things, which are sad, but sometimes inevitable. None of this is inevitable. All of it's preventable, and that's why I think, I guess the idea is to bring out a bunch of tough guys, which I kind of am, sort of, and send a message to people that bullying's not cool and it won't be tolerated.
And you are one of the wrestling's most unlikely world champions and legends and everything, fighting the odds. And it's kind of funny because the Mankind character, always was a little odd, but at the same time was kind of like an everyman character that people could relate to. Mrs. Foley's baby boy reaching for his dream. How much do you feel like that character helped you connect with the audience?
He was an everyman if every man wore a brown, smelly leather mask and talked to a sock puppet. But there were parts of that character. He got beaten down, he kept getting up, he kept picked on a little bit, and I used some of my own life's experiences to make that character click. And so I know a little bit about the pain that goes along with bullying, and that's why I think I can speak about it a little bit.
And how pleased are you with WWE's Be a Star program and how they're reaching out to kids?
Oh man, I think that's the best thing they've done. The fact that they're just really behind it. TNA did a good job too with Eliminate the Hate, but I don't think they followed through quite the way WWE has. I mean, WWE's guys are out there, they're in the public, they're making positive contributions, and they're letting us know about it. So if those rumors turn out to be true, and I do head back to WWE, that's one of the things I'd really like to be part of. But I like it. I enjoy giving. It's funny because I won't spend anything on my own clothes or car, but I like to help people out.
So you're the anti-Ric Flair when it comes to fashion?
A little bit. Some people would say I was the anti-Ric Flair in the ring too. Ow! Because he was really good. And
you guys had a great match in TNA too.
We did have a great match. I think it's called Impact now. So yeah.
Impact Wrestling. Yeah.
As a matter of fact, the Nature Boy was part of that show with Shane Helms. Who would have thought back in the day when Rick and I didn't see eye to eye?
Beef back in the day.
We were on Charlotte Today in Charlotte, North Carolina, and we raised a lot of money. So it's kind of infectious. I think when people see one guy getting involved, it's easier for others to get involved, especially if it's as simple as showing up and then giving your support to a great group like this.
What's one piece of advice you could leave all the young viewers out there?
There you go. Here it is. One of only two wise things I've ever actually written. Don't let anyone else define what being a success is. You get to do that for yourself.
Professional wrestling and college football legend Mr. Ron Simmons. And Mr. Simmons, what brings you here today at PWS?
Hey, man, this is, since retirement out of the ring now, I never had the opportunity to come out and really mingle and talk with the fans, and answer a lot of their questions. And now I get this opportunity now, and this provides the atmosphere and the platform for me to answer a lot of their questions, and to give back to them, to thank them for all the wonderful years that they came out and gave me support. So this is great. I'm enjoying it.
And what's also great is a lot of your former stablemates at the Nation of Domination are having a lot of success. D'Lo Brown, a bit of a career resurgence in TNA with Aces and Eights. You had The Rock win the WWE Championship for the first time in over a decade. Mark Henry as well, former world champ. What are your thoughts on your...
Savio Vega went on to have great success. Hey, look, buddy, when we formed that nation, right, we formed it with a group of guys that were, already proven wrestlers. Some of them come from a long history of wrestling in their family. So, it was almost certain that each one of them will go on from the nation and become successful in the ring and out of the ring and whatever we've done.
And I'm being joined by soon-to-be Hall of Famer, Mr. Bob Backlund. How are you doing, sir?
Good, you got it right. I'm doing great, having a great day.
You always had a clean-cut image, and you're also being inducted into the Hall of Fame, as I mentioned, and it's going to be in Madison Square Garden, a place that you have sold out. How special is it that you will be going into the Hall of Fame in Madison Square Garden?
Well, that's where all my history is. That's where, my career blossomed from nothing. And that was my goal when I left Princeton, Minnesota in 1973 with a 1978 Chevrolet Impala, a green one, by the way, and I had $20 in my pocket. But my goal was to get to Madison Square Garden and to get there and and to have the things happen to me. And one was my goal, not numerous times. I think I have more appearances in Madison Square Garden than anybody in the world. But yeah, it makes me very excited to be able to return to that building and to basically thank the people out there in the world. That means all of you. I love you, and I love what you did for me. You gave me the energy, you gave me the drive, you gave me the courage, you gave me the adrenaline, and I would never forget you guys.
And you will go down in history because this is a record that no one will beat. You are the second longest reigning WWE champion in history. And right now, a lot of people like to brag about a lot of things. And currently, the current WWE champion, CM Punk, has been champion for over 400 days. What do you think about his reign and how long it's been going in this modern era?
Well, you can never say never to anything. Anything is possible. There's in the right situation. I just never use that term because you make goals and you focus on them, and if you keep those goals strong enough, anything can happen. But I'm not a watcher. I'm a doer. Understand? Yeah. I don't sit and watch things. I do them. So I haven't followed professional wrestling a lot. But I know CM Punk. I know he's a strong guy. He's a good guy. I don't know his background very much, and I hope that he has the belt for a long, long time. And that's somebody's goal, and they want to keep that. And probably he's got more goals as far as the belt's concerned. And that's I hope he does the best he could and put all his energy into it. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for everything over the years. I appreciate your comments. You're very motivating, and we will be back in the ring.
Now, Mr. Backlund, just one last thing.
I'm done. That was my last comment.
One last thing, Mr. Backlund. Oh, yes, he's done.
Woo! Those were some fun times. If you want to check out more of our exclusive interviews we've done over the years, once again, youtube.com/thesportscourier, soundcloud.com/TSC News. I guarantee you there's something for everybody. But folks, I'm going to get on out of here. I hope you enjoyed the show. Stay tuned because next week we've got a few surprises that we'll announce later on social media. Until then, every Thursday, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, Manhattan Neighborhood Network, MNN2, youtube.com/thesportscourier on demand the next day, soundcloud.com/TSC News for the podcast. You can also find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play. Follow me on Twitter @SportsCourier, @Fred Richani, @TSC News on Instagram. Until next time, everybody, as always, enjoy the matches.